Welcome back to the Taiwan Outlook. I'm your host, Wu Ruiguo. In this segment, we will continue our discussion with Professor Chiang, Associate Professor of Political Science at Suzhou University. Johnny, I'm going to start off with this, question regarding the relationship between Taiwan and ASEAN member states. As we said earlier, that ASEAN made up of 10 member states. Each member state has different sets of national interests and priorities. So it's hard probably to talk about ASEAN as a single entity. But anyway, you are expert on the ASEAN and Taiwan relations. Can you just give us a brief overview of the relationship today?
Well, I think we can look at these issues from two perspectives.
Yes.
Number one is bilaterally.
Yes.
Okay. So far, Taiwan has no diplomatic ties with any of them so far. But we do have very strong economic ties with those countries in ASEAN. For example, now Taiwan is the #1 FDI provider for Vietnam.
Yes.
We are the #3 FDI provider for Thailand and Malaysia. We purchase a lot of natural resources from Indonesia.
Yes.
And we have very strong cultural ties with those countries in the region.
Yes.
And we have very strong social ties, with those countries. Especially, we have lots of foreign laborers coming from, these countries.
Southeast Asia.
So in terms of the exchange, cultural, social, economic exchange, it's very, very intensive. But unfortunately, politically, we have no diplomatic ties.
Yes.
So it's bilaterally. Multilaterally, ASEAN was set up in 1967, already more than 40 years. But again, Taiwan has no relationship with the organizations, even though we try very hard to become either one of the dialogue partners with ASEAN, or even join the ARF, the ASEAN Regional Forum. But finally, we fail, or we haven't achieved that goal. And we try to. So at this moment, I think bilaterally, we have very good relationship, especially around the people. But multilaterally and politically, I think we still have a long way to go. And why I think China factors is very important in this relationship building.
Yes.
So we hope that someday in the future, if cross-trade relationship, make some improvement, a big improvement, and that can also contribute to the relationship between the Taiwan and ASEAN, politically and multilaterally.
Okay, good. And we understand that although there's no official relationship between Taiwan and any of the ASEAN member states, but I do believe that there are unofficial and substantive dialogues between Taiwan and ASEAN. Can you just share with us some of these dialogue mechanisms that are very active and very important in maintaining the two relationship between Taiwan and ASEAN?
I think so far the most important platform for Taiwan and ASEAN or ASEAN countries to have dialogue or to have view exchange would be APEC.
APEC.
So APEC, I think, would be the most important platform, especially for our officials and their officials to have the official dialogues. I think the APEC is the #1 platform. Number 2 would be the Track 2.
Okay.
Okay. So there's a lot of Track 2 dialogue. That is a non-government, non-governmental platform. However, they do have the officials sometimes to
in a different capacity.
In a different capacity, individual capacity or in a scholar capacity, to participate in the Track 2 dialogues between the Taiwan and ASEAN or ASEAN countries. So I think these are now so far the two most important channels for both sides to handle their very substantive questions or issues.
And
also there are others that both sides try to develop in the futures, which may be including some other economic cooperations or even or the regional economic development cooperations. We try to find what kind of thing can be done between Taiwan and ASEAN countries in the futures, and from there to develop some sort of dialogue mechanisms or more lasting or more sustainable dialogue platform between two sides.
And Johnny, you mentioned a very important element in terms of not only Taiwan, but China has always been an important consideration in Taiwan's foreign policy. And a lot of times it's the biggest obstacle for Taiwan to have greater international space. However, with the improvement in cross-strait relations, since President Ma Ying-jeou took over, there seems to be some, latitude, a little more latitude than before, in terms of how, Taiwan can interact with neighboring countries such as ASEAN member states. How would you think that the rise of China, also the recent improvements in cross-strait relations, has affected the attitude of ASEAN towards Taiwan?
Well, I think when you mentioned that the China factor is very important for Taiwan's foreign policy making or consideration, I would say the other ways. China factor is also very important to other countries' foreign policy making or considerations. And that's why when Taiwan tried to develop an official or semi-official relationship with those countries, they will always say or finger or point to our big brother, in the other side of Taiwan Strait, that is mainland China. And with the current improvement in the cross-strait relationships, I think we do see some improve or do see some, slightly adjustments in those countries' policy toward Taiwan or toward cross-strait relationships. I think the most clear or the most particular countries would be Singapore. We already can have, feel the change.
The changing attitude.
From the Singapore's attitude toward Taiwan and toward the cross-strait relationship. And we hope that kind of change can be transferred to other countries in ASEAN or in the regions.
And one thing, of course, it's under intense discussion and also somewhat of an internal debate within Taiwan, is the proposed economic cooperation framework agreement with China, ECFA, like you said. One of the reasons for our government to push for ECFA at this time, in addition to the fact that, starting January 1st, 2010, the ASEAN plus China free trade area will become a reality, and all the custom tariffs will be reduced down to zero. Other than that, there's also a very important reason that if we sign the ECFA with China, that maybe we can, through ECFA with China, sign FTA, free trade agreement, or something similar to free trade agreement with many or some of the countries in ASEAN. Do you think that scenario, in your many discussions and meetings with ASEAN member states representatives, do you think such a scenario is likely, possible, or is it remote?
Well, it's also very important and very tough questions for me to answer.
Piece of cake for you.
I think I just show some of my observations in this regard. Politically, I would say there is a possibility if Taiwan and China do sign the agreements regarding the free trade. Politically, there will be a possibility there for Taiwan to extend the momentum to the Southeast Asia or change Beijing's attitude toward Taiwan's FTA policy,
yes.
or Taiwan's FTA with other countries in the regions. And technically, I would say that really depending on the agreement, the content of the agreements being signed by Taiwan and mainland China in the futures. If the content is, violating the rule of the WTO, I think that would be, difficult for Taiwan to, to continue to sign FTA with other countries.
So it has to be in conformity with WTO.
That's right.
Yes.
And also, I will also try to put the other view. That is, if the ECFA can really produce more, I would say GDP or trade or investment across the Taiwan Strait, then that would put the pressures on other countries in the regions. And that is to pushing them to consider, at least consider Taiwan as a major trading partners or targets for them in terms of FTA policies.
Yeah, it certainly helps Taiwan to diversify export market.
That's right.
Okay, we're going to take another short break. We'll be right back to Taiwan Outlook with Professor Chiang from the Political Science Department at Suzhou University. We'll be back in 2 minutes.